Hey everybody, a couple weeks ago we watched Avatar The Way of the Water. Aiden, what's the plot of Avatar The Way of the Water?
Avatar The Way of Water takes place 10 years after the original, just like the real world. Jake Sully and the others are in the forest doing forest people stuff, and the humans come back. So Jake and his new family, which consists of children and a human child, flee to the water Navi place. And there they have magical adventures with the whales and then fight some people. Connor, what did you think of Avatar The Way of Water?
I thought it was pretty good. From a story perspective, it's a big improvement over the first one. The story still isn't that complex, but it's probably better than the first one in that regard. There is some interesting ass pulls, like cloning Sigourney Weaver and cloning the general guy, cloning all of the villains from the original movie. It's a little weird, but the effects were beautiful. We watched this in Prime, so it was Prime Auditorium, so it was 48 frames per second 3D, and it looked very good. Probably one of the best looking effects films I've ever seen. It definitely improved upon the effects of the past, and yeah, I mean, it really is. It's just like it's a joyride film. It's not gonna, really tease your brain. The most deep subtext in this film is whaling bad. Because James Cameron doesn't like whaling, I guess, and made his movie around people want to kill Jake Sully and whale.
Yeah.
That's the two plots of this movie.
Yeah.
At least it had some sort of like environmental message, which I know James Cameron's passionate about. They found a new environmental message beyond don't cut down trees, which I kind of, going into this movie, assumed it was going to be cutting down trees bad and we need to kill Jake Sully. But instead it was polluting the water and killing whales bad and we need to kill Jake Sully.
Yeah.
I thought the little, I guess not really twist, but I'm not going to spoil anything, but there is kind of a predictable moment, which everyone else said wasn't going to happen. And then when it happened, everyone said they totally called that. Aiden and Joe.
I said it was going to
Yeah,
happen
Joe.
in the next movie. I figured they wouldn't blow their load on it.
I knew they were going to. They just would play sad music. Yeah. Well, spoiler alerts from here on out. One of Jake Sully's sons was killed, and Aiden said there's no way they're going to kill him off.
I didn't say
Then it happened, and he did this. Predictable.
I didn't say that.
He said,
I said I'd figure they'd wait until at least 2 of this 4-movie saga to blow their load on killing off a kid.
Well, you have to get that emotional arc for the other kid, the one they actually bothered to make a character for. Because there's 2 kids, one that has a character and one that did not.
Yeah, a bit.
So it was clearly that kid was set up to die from literally the second scene. He was it's the responsible big brother that dies archetype. So, but I mean, I don't know. What are my thoughts on Avatar? You should probably see it. It's worthwhile. If you don't catch it in theaters somehow, even though it's going to be in theaters for the next 600 years, I would definitely recommend watching it on 4K. Because on Disney Plus, you're not going to be that impressed, and the story probably doesn't hold the weight it should for a 3-hour movie. But if you have a good setup, or you can get your way out to a theater, I think it's pretty good. So Aiden, What did you think of Avatar: The Way of the Water?
Avatar 2 is basically exactly what you expect it to be. The story is more or less a slightly better told version of the first movie, where Jake and his family in this case are fish out of water in a new, beautiful native land that's being fucked up by humans, and then they fight. The story's definitely nothing groundbreaking, and the movie is too long. I think, James Cameron just has a boner for, one, he has a boner for water and boats and sea life, and two, he has a boner for just world building Pandora. And I'm fairly certain that if he could get away with it, this movie would have just been a fucking nature documentary about Pandora's oceans, because that's the thing that seems to interest him. But there's definitely a lot more going on in this movie than the first. I think it's a substantially better told movie and more interesting. There's a lot more characters that are relevant to the plot. Mostly Jake's family and some of the fishy avatars. The fishy Navi, which keeps things moving a little more, although the entire middle section is just an hour of fucking swimming around in the ocean. Beyond that, the movie looks fucking incredible. I don't know how they pulled it off. The water looks completely real. The underwater scenes look incredible. Pretty much every aspect of this movie just looks fucking fantastic at all times. And it's an incredible technological feat. And even the stuff that I'm normally whatever, the 3D stuff, this whole movie feels like every shot was planned around it having 3D. And
I'd almost be curious to see it in 2D, just because it's is it because they worked in the 3D so much, and I mean it wasn't as blatant as something like Friday the 13th 3D.
Yeah, no.
But I would be curious to watch it in 2D and be able to call all the 3D shots. I'm curious if that makes the 2D experience more awkward.
Yeah, I don't know, but you could tell that they put a lot of thought into how the 3D would be implemented, and definitely worked really hard to design the cinematography around the 3D and have things moving in and out of the foreground really naturally. The high frame rate especially looks fucking fantastic. High frame rate got a bad name from the crappy Hobbit movie, but it wasn't the high frame rate's fault. It was the fault that those movies just looked like fucking horrible dog shit.
Well, there was multiple problems.
There was layers.
I don't think the technology was there. I don't know if Peter Jackson was. I don't know if he actually shot it native 48 or if he added extra frames. But the problem too is I don't think the whole movie was. I don't think it was shot at 48. I think they upped it to 48.
Yeah, they added.
But also the stuff that actually was 48 frames per second was
GoPro camera footage.
GoPro camera footage and CGI. Circa 2013, which I don't think they got the smoothing down. I think there was a lot of problems.
Yeah, this one was actually shot for 48 and looks really good for it. Or, well, I guess most of it wasn't shot per se, but, animated in 48. It looks fucking incredible. And you should definitely find a theater that has the 48 FPS 3D if you can, because
yeah,
it is really fucking stunning.
You need to go to a premium format theater for that. So IMAX, Prime, Dolby, Monster Screen, Big D, etc.
If you have the ability,
Ultra Screen at Marcus Cinema.
If you have the ability to see it in that format, you definitely should, because it's pretty incredible. The technical stuff is all really cool. The movie's paced and structured a lot better than the first one, but I still think it's decently generic and boring as far as plot goes. So I'm a little mixed on it, but as a technical achievement, it's definitely worth seeing because it is breathtaking, and I never thought I'd say that about CGI again. But yeah, the actual like content of the movie is a little eh. But definitely the visual side of it is just really fucking magnificent. So, Connor, would you recommend Avatar: The Way of Water?
Yeah. Like I said, I kind of already soft recommended it at the end of my thoughts segment. I definitely recommend seeing it in a premium format. It's probably worth watching in 3D while it's in theaters because the 3D is subtle, and even though it's 3 hours long, it didn't give me a huge headache. And it's not like badly converted, not shot for 3D crap like Wakanda Forever or something.
Or like stupid gimmicky stuff, like sticking hands in the
Right.
screen all the time.
It's pretty subtle 3D. Like I said, I would be curious to watch it in 2D at some point, but
Yeah.
if you somehow can't make it out to the theater in the next probably 6 months, this is gonna be playing. I would recommend picking up like a 4K of it if you have a decent setup, because it is probably gonna be one of those movies that I'll watch one more time when it comes out on 4K and then maybe dust it off once a decade. But James Cameron claims he's actually trying to create a more fleshed out Avatar world, and says that the franchise isn't going to go completely dark like it did for the last 10 years. So maybe there'll be more staying power and rewatchability to this one than the original Avatar, where everyone kind of just forgot about it, and then the effects that were groundbreaking at the time became, well, standard visual effects. Hopefully the other Avatars are good. I'm a little more invested in the story. James Cameron made something to where I came into this movie totally unexcited for it, and I left saying, well, I guess Avatar 3 and 4 might be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd recommend it. That's a long-winded way of saying I recommend it. Aiden, would you recommend Avatar: The Way of the Water?
Definitely if you can see it in the full experience, the 48 FPS and 3D. I think you'll still probably enjoy it in 2D or, without the high frame rate, but you're definitely missing out on a lot of the super crazy technical side of it. That said, it's still decent enough to recommend. But definitely, if you have the opportunity to get the full thing, you should absolutely go for it because it is really incredible in theaters.